Well, I feel it's very important, to me anyway. I want to know what's going on, you know. For instance, a comrade in Spain explained the situation in our province, and I'm interested in what's happening in Catalonia. And, you know, because I'm not getting that news on the BBC. We're not getting that news on the mass media. So we do need something to rely on as a body of disparate groups, which is, I think, important. We don't want to end up a big political party as such. I mean, our group, which is affiliated to the Alliance Green Socialism, all the members refuse to become a political party because they hate the whole idea, you know, the whole sort of formality of it, and the sort of imprisonment you give yourself. That being a, you know, it's not very democratic to be a democratic political party. It's the opposite, in fact. So it's like a kiss of death, if you like, to be an old-fashioned party, as we all know from Spain, France, and everywhere else. And that's why we're here. So this question of communicating between meetings, between other things, is so important to people like me. Except I'm computer illiterate, so I find it rather difficult, you know, to get online to get my information. But I do, you know, to this point, where was it, in number 6, you know, communicating between meetings. And yes, let's have a basic website, perhaps, or something similar.
And a newsletter, maybe a newsletter at some point.
But we don't want to be too formal.
No.
And I echo what Comrade from Wigan said as well.
I don't know if all these ideas are nice, but it means time, energy, translation.
Yeah, we agree in principle today.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we agree that we need a fuller understanding, but point 6 is fine. Point 7, the executive. A hand up there, Martin.
This may be a bit mischievous, but having reached a decision about making decisions by consensus, what do we actually mean by elect, and who does the electing?
Well, we don't.
I think we'll be begging people, to be honest. We'll be bribing people, I think. But a good point.
Faut pas, sur la question du consensus, faut pas non plus. Quand on travaille dans des groupes parlementaires, c'est le cas du parti de gauche, où les décisions se font par consensus, on sait qu'on trouve, y compris dans les nominations, il faut un consensus, ça prend parfois du temps, mais là on va trouver, donc si on garde le nombre de 5, finalement c'était ce qu'il y avait dans le secrétariat technique, on va bien voir qui veut, de toute façon c'est ce qu'a dit Stéphane, c'est des gens qui veulent mettre la main à la pâte. C'est pas une question de... Parce qu'il y a du travail, c'est ce que dit Stéphane. Parce que là, vous me dites, il y a 3 langues. Qui c'est qui traduit? Jusqu'à présent, bon, Mike qui traduit ces documents, jusqu'à présent, ce sont donc des camarades du parti de gauche qui traduisent tout en 3 langues. Les emails, je ne sais pas si vous avez vu, il y a un effort de design pour rendre ce réseau. Ça, c'est une camarade qui fait un travail spécifique. Et donc, l'organisation, et nous avons d'autres tâches. Donc, ceux qui veulent mettre la main à la pâte, ils sont les bienvenus.
Moi, je voudrais suggérer que, point 7, on évite le terme de comité exécutif. Je crois qu'il faut trouver quelque chose de plus soft, comme secrétariat technique ou comme comité de liaison, sachant que parce que c'est pour éviter un vocabulaire qui suggère qu'il y a une sorte de logique de parti en construction. Et si un jour on veut avoir non seulement Syriza autour de la table, mais je ne sais pas s'ils sont là aujourd'hui, voilà, mais muet comme une carte, mais plutôt engagé et participant et se disant oui on peut faire ça, ça et ça aussi, je crois qu'il faut... donc si on veut avoir des partis, des organisations, des courants qui sont à la fois membres du Parti vert européen et membres, ou d'autres qui sont membres du Parti de la gauche européenne, ou membres de rien du tout, etc. Mais donc d'être transversal et associer des forces qui sont quelque part divisées ou éclatées, bon, il faut absolument éviter de créer un seuil, une frontière, et donc de refléter cette attitude ou ce fonctionnement de type parti en ordre de marche de construction. Et donc un exécutif, ce serait...
On est d'accord sur ça.
Okay, so I mean, in a way, we could say that Francois and Stefan have done an awful lot of work to keep this network building, and even doing the background work and doing all the invitations and chasing up and everything in the background. If we are perhaps to agree to go to Barcelona next time, we would expect an organising committee there, but we will need a link. We will need the expertise to link
Other
through.
people.
Yeah,
And now
exactly,
we need
and
other
build.
people.
And we need people to take on tasks such as a website, etc. So, what are we saying? We want a committee, which is, to us is perhaps more straightforward than a secretariat, but Sean?
I think to facilitate the best communication, I think it would be clearly desirable that the liaison team, or whatever we want to call it, should have at least one representative from each state that member organisations are coming from, and I don't think it's too demanding of, for example, the comrades around here from Britain. I don't think it's too much to expect us to actually agree that at least one or more people to be on that liaison group. Indeed, I mean, and so personally, I would say that we should have that number 7 should say that there's a secretariat or liaison group that would be made up of at least one representative from each of the member states.
So what about we shall
One at a time,
form
please.
a liaison committee that will include representatives
As much as
from
possible, or as
yeah,
much as makes
yeah,
sense.
as many who want to.
As far as possible.
Yeah, as far as
As far as
possible,
yes,
members
yeah.
from every group. Okay, you got that written down?
No, but then my mind.
Oh, fantastic. What a good mind. And can we finish now on finance, which might be a bit tricky, and I'm hoping that perhaps what we might say today is an interim, and that maybe by this time next year we might go back to the finance thing again. I'm not sure. I think Francois and Stefan may have very strong views, but I'm asking you to think through your comments on finance.
Let me say something about this, because it is very difficult. And I think Francois made a point earlier about, yes, we would like, a permanent headquarters of the staff, so on and so forth. Yes, we would like, but we don't have. I recognise that so far there are two contradictory polls. One is that actually the Parti de Gauche has funded much of the network's activity, and thank you very much. That's probably not, I mean, it's not really good for the network, but I should imagine it's not very happy for the Parti de Gauche to simply carry on shelling out thousands of pounds.
Can be
Yeah,
can be.
yes. The other is that for individual organisations, even going to a couple of international meetings in a year is a significant amount of money. If the Alliance for Green Socialism spends £500, to us that's quite a lot of money. So it probably wouldn't be practical at the moment for us to have some kind of subscription or contribution high enough to actually fund those kind of meetings. So I really don't know what the answer is, and I'm very interested in what Francois in particular says.
Well, we have funded the meeting in Brussels, and the total bill is about 3,200
Euros.
euros.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Avec
it
nous,
was.
sans vous.
Hmm?
Avec nous, sans vous.
Sans vous. Sans vous. So it is a large amount for our organization also, but so we won't do it twice.
It was that bad.
Okay, but it was important that it took place in the trade union headquarters, that we went to the European Parliament, that we had the translation devices, as much as it is important for our functioning that we now have these devices that are brought from Brussels, where they are much cheaper than in UK. So I would propose that when we organize some activities, that it's a way of responsibility and engagement that we put some money on the table to mutualize and collectively to finance it collectively. So, for example, the translation. If we rent it, it is not on the Parti de Gauche, nor on my organization, nor any other organization to fund it. It is our common responsibility to fund it. So this is a budget of €1,000 per meeting. Even if you have translators that are doing it for free, you have you need the material, and also for a website or something like the food of yesterday. Well, it should be shared. It should be shared. You ask something, it's not much, but it should be shared. Otherwise.
Stephen?
I was going to agree with what you said about sharing. I think possibly the best way around that is to issue an appeal before an event and say, you know, it's going to cost so much to put on, and appeal to constituent organisations to respond positively to that appeal. I'm also concerned about people who come from Eastern Europe, like Poland, who are in small organisations, you know, for whom the cost of getting anywhere in Europe is probably, you know, inordinate. You know, for me, it's cheaper to go to Barcelona than it is to London from where I live, believe it or not, by plane. So I think some idea of something like a pooled fare would be also worth considering, where at least we can equalise some of the costs, and maybe, or alternatively subsidising people from Eastern Europe or whatever from out of an appeal fund or whatever, you know, set aside some money. But I agree with you, we need to share the cost out rather than individual organisations wearing the costs.
Well, can I just say that for the London, for the expenses here, Green Left, London Front de Gauche, Left Unity, and AGS have all promised money in advance in order that we could get this venue and to be able to afford the lunch and stuff, so on peripheral printing and costs and things like that. So we took that on for the cost because we're doing it in London. But we are small organisations, and it's actually quite a significant bit out of all of our funds to do this. But we do need to think ahead. But what do we want in the document to say for now? Or is this something we're actually going to aim, like you say, it's a good idea, if maybe 2-3 months before we can see if we can get some funding. And I mean, next time, we are paying for the venue this time. Maybe next year or the year after, I would actually be able to get these venues free because we'd have won the arguments a bit more. You know, but we're paying £500, but it would have been nearly £850 for Friends Meeting House for 2 days, or maybe £1,000 actually for the bigger rooms. So it's cheaper here than it would have been in any other hired building of the size that I was told that I needed to get.
I don't think we need to include it in this text, but I think it's something we can generally aspire to do. And you know, the cost should be shared out. And
let's open a bank
socialist principle.
A fair distribution of costs.
Well, Stefan is keen that we open a bank account and then people maybe do fundraising and drop something into it. Can we open a bank account with €1, and then when we do a fundraiser or a gig, maybe we all try and put in £100 by Christmas at least, and then add to it? Should we do that? But then we would need to elect a treasurer. Then we would need to do that.
By consensus, please.
And then we can finish this again.
Si je peux, il faut avoir conscience qu'évidemment tout ça a un coût. Par exemple, nos camarades d'Europe de l'Est sont tous invités, puisque certains d'entre eux ne peuvent pas payer leur déplacement. Donc évidemment, le parti de gauche ne peut pas éternellement faire ce... Donc à mon avis, si on raisonne pragmatiquement, il y a des partis qui ont des élus, qui ont des moyens, et il y a des partis qui sont petits, qui n'ont pas forcément... On n'attend pas forcément la même chose de tous les partis. C'est-à-dire si un parti peut déjà venir par ses propres moyens, comme tu l'as dit Mike, c'est déjà beaucoup. Par contre, les partis, à l'image du parti de gauche qui ont des structures, ben, peuvent être aussi peut-être un peu plus sollicités. Là, il faut un consensus. C'est-à-dire à quel point on s'engage dans ce réseau. Et nous, le parti de gauche, on ne peut pas non plus éternellement...
Donc il faut...
Non, c'est pas possible. C'est
de l'international.
Il faut un compte bancaire.
Il faut lancer la chose. Seulement, il faut quelqu'un faire sa place.
Stéphane, tu peux peut-être pour la prochaine réunion, parce que ça on ne va pas l'improviser.
Non.
Pour la prochaine réunion, en ayant des contacts avec les membres, faire une proposition d'organisation financière du réseau pour la prochaine fois.
Ouais, pas aujourd'hui.
Ouais.
Ce qui nous permettra par ailleurs de passer à la déclaration politique, parce qu'on adopte un événement.
Normalement, à Barcelone, on devrait avoir une série de nouveaux partis. On devrait avoir des eurodéputés si on choisit bien la date, et une série de nouveaux partis qui ont des élus qui viendront, parce que là, cette date.
Okay, so I'm just so can we leave? So what are we saying? Point 8, we leave off this, and it'll be something on the agenda for Barcelona if we're going to go to Barcelona.
Oui, Piotr?
I would like to express my gratitude for these 3 plane tickets, and I think there is many ways to contribute. And when I'm inviting you to Warsaw, I'm saying we will not need any budget because we do everything for free. You are invited to our homes. We have just organized a congress where over 150 delegates from all over the country slept in the houses of the members in Warsaw. The catering will be organized with homemade meals, very good Polish cuisine. And we arrange the hall in the parliament. We have such possibilities. The translation is for free because we have very good translators. So I don't see any costs. And most of our ventures we do, because we organize poor people, we're doing with common effort, and that's what we can contribute. So the only thing we can't supply is transport. It has to be done.
Fantastic, thank you very much indeed.
Can we put Warsaw then for
Yeah, one after. That sounds great. I'm hoping that this is a wrap up, and then I was going to say 15-minute comfort break, get your coffee, go to
Okay,
the loo,
before
whatever,
the comfort break, take
this to
a
read
copy
it.
of it.
To read it, and then we come back to look at that. Last point, if there's nobody else who wants to speak.
What about Stefan's suggestion that we open a bank account?
Well, he's happy to wait till Barcelona.
Yeah.
No, I don't look back to Barcelona.
Il prépare, il travaille pour la prochaine réunion pour faire une proposition. Parce qu'ouvrir un compte en banque, ça pose le problème de...
Administratif.
Comment
3 signatures, 2 signatures.
Est-ce qu'il faut une association?
One person at a time.
Opening a bank account, and don't open it in England, it'll take fucking years.
Technique, oui, ben, le secrétariat, le comité de liaison, qui le rejoint?
Don't open it in England, open it
Who is joining? Who is joining the?
I'll happily join.
You are already more.
Yeah.
So yes, okay, Mike.
Should we think about that in the break as well?
No,
to add the
no.
name? You want names now?
No, but I suggest that that all the ones that are think of themselves that well maybe they can put
We need a
some time.
Spanish according
Non, c'est
to
fait.
your point.
Il y a l'initiative.
Initiative. Bene.
Welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.
Le parti de gauche est candidat. Il déterminera quelle est la personne qui s'occupera de ça ultérieurement.
No vacation.
God, I think we've done quite a lot. We've done quite a lot this morning.
Well done, Chair.
And let's